It's so bizarre.
It's bizarre, and it reflects particularly badly, I think, on Nick Walsh. So this we're talking about is Sima's opening goal, which was a phenomenally good finish from a really, really tight angle. But there's a clear push on Jamie Brandon in the build up. Hand on the shoulder. It's not tenuous, and I think it's almost like everyone watching it stopped. Even to some extent, I'm not even sure Sima would shoot from there if he didn't think this is definitely going to get pulled back for the foul. But it doesn't. Now it does, and Nick Walsh's VAR for reviewing it doesn't see any reason to pull it back. Now that's difficult enough, and I hate the VAR discussions, but there's this one in particular is kind of the root of what my biggest problem with the whole thing has been. Is a couple of weekends ago, the Nick Walsh ruling out for a foul at St Mirren, the Michael Mandron decision for exactly the same thing, pulling it back immediately, and he's on the field, and he was the referee, and he immediately pulled it back.
Sorry, Tom, just to interject, he didn't actually immediately pull it back. He let the play continue, and then Mandron scored, and then so he let the play continue so that if it went to VAR, but then he blew his whistle once the ball in the back of the net. So he's basically saying, "I think that's a foul. I've let it be a goal. I think that's a foul. But if I'm wrong, VAR will overturn me." Which I actually think is what. No, he didn't blow the whistle right away.
Not right away, but he blew the whistle before he put it in the net.
I don't know. Actually, I'm pretty sure he didn't. You can see in the replays that he waits, and then after the ball goes in the back of the net, then he points up the field.
I may be wrong, but my recollection is that he blows before he shoots, and one of the reasons why.
I shall investigate this if you want to keep going.
Cool. But so as the referee, he sees that. The problem that I've got with it is we've now introduced this idea of perfection. And we've introduced the idea that and it's not that there's delays, and yes, there's contentious decisions, and yes, some things, we're getting into the technicalities and the legalities of things. The problem I've got is that we've introduced this idea that all incidents are going to be correctly applied, and there's going to be some level of fairness to this. There's more accuracy, but it means there's going to be far more scrutiny when things go wrong. Now, I'm caveating all of this. Rangers absolutely battered Livy. Livy weren't really in it. Rangers could easily have won by more than the 4 that they got. They looked a hell of a lot better than the team that had played at Motherwell against Motherwell at the weekend. They looked a lot more fluid. There was an awful lot, and Simo caused an awful lot of problems. He looked like properly dangerous throughout. But the opening goal came from something that, and the way that Livingston play, how defensively minded they have to be, how combative they need to be for that the entire fixture effectively hung on that one particular incident. And it was a really obvious one. It seemed like a really, really obvious one to give, and nobody would have been particularly frustrated with it.
I've got it here now. I've got the previous incident here now if we want to listen into this.
Oh, we're going live.
Okay. Alright, foul. No, there's no whistle.
I hear nothing.
There's no whistle. Sure? Aye, there's no whistle till that ball goes in the back of the net. I'm fairly certain there. Did my mic not pick? Did you not hear that through my mic?
I didn't. I didn't hear. I don't know.
Also, I watched the sports scene of that. I watched the sports scene of that. Actually, you know what? I kind of
the point stands though. The point is, the
referee
on the pitch, like the semantics of it, or the order of it, the point is that as the VAR, he's decided that that's okay. Going on when it's gone on the pitch, as the referee, he's decided that's not. And one of those was a far more egregious foul than the other. That's where it is for me.
I think I disagree to an extent. What I disagree with is I think the issue is, and this is And this is why I think VAR is pointless. Because it's all
you don't need to finish this argument now.
But in this instance, so and if you compare the two, because they're both the same to some extent. They're both in my opinion the wrong decision. So when you see when Nick Walsh as referee in that Hearts St Mirren game gives the foul against Michael Mandron for the push on Frankie Kent, the VAR has to be what is it, beyond reasonable doubt or whatever it's not beyond reasonable doubt. What is it? Clear and obvious. It's a clear and obvious error by the official. I would think it actually does look a bit clear and obvious. I don't think there is much contact, but the camera angles weren't good enough to conclusively show that Mandron didn't actually foul Kent because of the angle. Mandron's kind of camera side of him and Kent's the other side, so it's hard to tell if there is something. Walsh might have had a better angle at looking at that at the time because he was behind the play where the camera angle wasn't. I'm not sure, but the angle that we saw was one that it was hard to tell. There might have been other ones that showed a bit more. I don't know. But they stuck with that original decision because there wasn't enough to say that was overturned. Now, going to the game on Wednesday, again, I still think having checked with VAR, VAR should have intervened and said, right, okay, you need to. Well, this is the minimum one, it should have been allowed to be a goal, and this one, it should have been chalked off. VAR should have intervened and changed the referee's decision, or at least tried to get the referee to change his decision by going over to the monitor. But I can also understand to a degree why it wasn't given, because when you see replays like that, where it's just like, it's a hand coming out, it doesn't look like there's really much force behind the shove, and you think, oh, it's Brandon going down a little bit too easy there to buy a foul. And again, it goes to that thing, it's like, okay, is it a clear and obvious error? Maybe it's not a clear and obvious error, so okay, let's stick with the referee's decision. And that's why it barely works, because it's still down to subjectivity. You'll get referees looking at that and saying, that's definitely a foul, because you can see he's clearly put his arm out, he's clearly made contact with him, he's clearly gone down. The other referees say, well, yes, he's done all that, but I think that contact is negligible, and I think Jamie Brandon is buying that foul. You get one lot of referees saying one thing, one lot of referees saying another, and that's why VAR is a lot of shite.
But we've introduced perfection. That's it.
Yeah,
but there's no such thing, and there's no such thing as perfection in any walk of life, really. But there's certainly none of it when it comes to refereeing
decisions. Speak for yourself.
Of course, present company excluded. Duncan.
Yeah, of course.